The desert sun was getting lower in the sky when the wagon train stopped for the night. Lily wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders and looked out at the red rocks all around them. She had been traveling for 3 weeks now, and every day felt the same: dust, heat, and the constant fear of what might be waiting out there in the wilderness. Her father had arranged everything. The marriage, the journey, even the wagon train that would take her to her new life. She didn't want any of it, but what choice did a 19-year-old girl have in 1875? Women didn't get to choose their own path back then. Stay close to the wagons tonight, her traveling companion Mrs. Henderson warned. I heard the men talking. They think we might be in Apache territory now. Lily nodded but didn't really listen. She had heard the same warnings for days. Apache here, Apache there. Sometimes she wondered if these stories were even real or just something people said to scare each other. That night she found out the stories were very real. The attack came just before dawn. Lily woke up to shouting and gunshots. Through the canvas of her wagon she could see shadows moving fast between the other wagons. Men were yelling orders she couldn't understand. Horses were making loud, scared noises. Get down! Get down! Someone screamed. Lily rolled out of her wagon and crawled under it. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might jump right out of her chest. The shooting seemed to go on forever, but it was probably only a few minutes. Then everything went quiet. Too quiet. She stayed under the wagon for a long time, afraid to move. When she finally looked out, she couldn't see anyone moving around the camp. Some of the wagons were on fire. Others were turned over on their sides. Hello? She called, out softly. Is anyone there? No answer. Lily crawled out from under the wagon and looked around. The camp was destroyed. She couldn't see Mrs. Henderson or any of the other travelers. Her hands were shaking as she grabbed a water bottle and some food from her wagon. She had to get away from here. But which way should she go? She had no idea where she was or how to get back to civilization. The desert looked the same in every direction. Just rocks and sand and strange plants she didn't know the names of. Lily started, walking toward what she thought might be east. The sun was coming up, so that had to be the right direction, didn't it? But after an hour of walking over rough ground in her long dress and uncomfortable shoes, she realized she might have made a mistake. The desert was much harder to walk through than it looked. There were sharp rocks everywhere, and thorny plants that caught on her skirt. Twice she stepped wrong and nearly fell. The second time she felt something pop in her ankle. The pain was immediate and sharp. She tried to keep walking, but after a few steps she had to stop. Her ankle was starting to swell up inside her boot. This can't be happening, she said out loud, even though there was no one to hear her. This just can't be happening. She looked around for somewhere to rest and saw some big rocks up ahead that might give her some shade. Lily limped over to them as fast as she could manage. There was a small space between two large boulders where she could sit down and hide. The day got hotter and hotter. She drank some of her water, but not too much because she didn't know when she would find more. Her ankle kept getting more swollen and painful. By the time the sun was high overhead, she could barely put any weight on it at all. What was she going to do? She had heard terrible stories about people getting lost in the desert. They said you could die from the heat in just one day if you weren't careful. And here she was, a city girl who didn't know anything about surviving in the wilderness. As the afternoon went on, she started to feel dizzy from the heat. She used her shawl to make some shade, but it wasn't enough. Her water was running low and her ankle hurt so bad she wanted to cry. When the sun finally started to go down, Lily felt a little relief from the heat. But now she had a new problem. What would happen when it got dark? She had heard that dangerous animals came out at night in the desert. And what about the Apache? She tried not to think about that. Maybe they had moved on after attacking the wagon train. Maybe they were far away by now. But just as these thoughts were going through her head, she heard something that made her blood turn cold. Footsteps. Someone was walking on the rocks near her hiding place. Lily held her breath and tried to make herself as small as possible. Maybe whoever it was would walk right past without seeing her. The footsteps stopped. She could hear her own heart beating. It was so loud she was sure whoever was out there could hear it too. Then she saw him. A young Native American man stepped into view between the rocks. He was tall and lean, with long black hair and dark skin made darker by the sun. He wore traditional Apache clothing, buckskin pants and shirt, with beads and feathers in his hair. He had a bow slung over his shoulder and a knife at his belt. Lily's first thought was that she was going to die. Her second thought was that he was the most beautiful man she had ever seen. But mostly she was terrified. The Apache warrior, because that's what he had to be, looked right at her. His dark eyes were serious and alert, like he was trying to decide if she was dangerous or not. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Lily did something that surprised even her. Instead of screaming or trying to run, she spoke. "Please," she said in a voice barely louder than a whisper. "Please don't hurt me." The warrior tilted his head slightly, like he was listening carefully to her words. His expression wasn't angry or cruel like she had expected. He looked more curious. He said something in his own language. The words were soft and musical, not harsh like she had imagined Apache speech would be. When she didn't respond, he tried again in broken English. "You hurt?" He pointed at her ankle, which was clearly swollen even through her boot. Lily blinked in surprise. He was asking if she was injured? She nodded slowly. "Yes, my ankle. I can't walk very well." The warrior looked around at the desert, then back at her. He seemed to be thinking about something. Finally, he stepped closer, but slowly, like he didn't want to scare her. "You alone?" he asked. Again, Lily nodded. What else could she say? She was completely alone, injured and lost in the middle of nowhere. The Apache man looked at her for another long moment. She could see him making some kind of decision in his mind. Finally, he pointed to himself. "Kaya," he said. It took her a second to realize he was telling her his name. Her voice shook a little when she responded. "Lily." Kaya nodded once like he was pleased to know what to call her. Then he did something completely unexpected. He took off a small water pouch from his belt and held it out to her. "Water," he said simply. Lily stared at the pouch. This Apache warrior, who should have been her enemy, was offering her water. She was so thirsty and her own water was almost gone. But could she trust him? Looking into his dark eyes, she saw something she hadn't expected to see. Kindness. Slowly, she reached out and took the water pouch. The water inside was warm, but it was the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. "Thank you," she whispered. Kaya watched her drink, then pointed at her ankle again. He said something in Apache that she didn't understand, but his meaning was clear enough. He wanted to help her. But why? Why would an Apache warrior help a white settler girl? Weren't they supposed to be enemies? Lily didn't have time to figure out the answer to that question. The sun was almost completely gone now and the desert was getting cold fast. She could see Kaya looking around, probably thinking the same thing she was thinking. She couldn't survive a night out here, especially not with her injured ankle. Kaya seemed to come to a decision. He held out his hand to her and said something that sounded like a question in Apache. When she looked confused, he tried in English. "Come. Safe place." Lily looked at his outstretched hand. Every story she had ever heard told her not to trust him. Apache warriors were dangerous. They were the enemy. They killed people like her. But looking at Kaya, she didn't see an enemy. She saw a young man who was trying to help her when no one else in the world even knew where she was. And really, what choice did she have? She could stay here and probably die from the cold or thirst or wild animals. Or she could trust this stranger, who had already shown her more kindness than her own father ever had. Lily reached out and took his hand. His skin was warm and rough from working outdoors. He helped her stand up carefully, being gentle with her hurt ankle. When she nearly fell because of the pain, he caught her easily. Kaya looked at her ankle, then at her, then seemed to make another decision. Without asking, he picked her up in his arms like she weighed nothing at all. Lily's first instinct was to struggle, but she was too tired and hurt to fight. And something about the way he held her, carefully, respectfully, made her feel safer than she had felt in months. As Kaya carried her away from the rocks where she had been hiding, Lily looked back once at the place where her old life had ended. Tomorrow, if she lived to see it, would bring something completely new. She had no idea what that would be. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't completely afraid of the future. Kaya carried Lily through the desert for what felt like hours, though it was probably much less. The moon was bright enough to light their way, and he seemed to know exactly where he was going. Lily had never been carried by a man before. Her father wasn't the type for such gestures, and she had never been close enough to any other man for it to happen. She found herself studying Kaya's face as he walked. Up close she could see that he was probably only a few years older than her. His jaw was strong and his cheekbones were high. There were small scars on his hands and arms, the kind you get from living a hard life outdoors. But his touch was gentle, and he was being careful not to jostle her injured ankle. Finally, they came to what looked like just another pile of rocks, but Kaya carried her around to the backside where Lily saw there was an opening between the boulders. It wasn't big, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. "Cave," Kaya said, seeing her confused expression. He set her down carefully, near the entrance, and went in first, probably to make sure it was safe. A few minutes later she saw the warm glow of firelight from inside. "Come," his voice called from within. Lily squeezed through the opening and gasped. The cave was much bigger inside than she had expected. The ceiling was high enough that Kaya could stand up straight, and there was room for several people to sleep comfortably. Someone had been using this place for a while. There were neat piles of supplies along one wall, some blankets, and a fire pit with stones arranged around it. "You live here?" she asked. Kaya shook his head. "Hunt here. Sleep here sometimes." His English was broken, but she could understand him well enough. He gestured for her to sit on a pile of soft animal furs near the fire. The warmth felt wonderful, after the cold desert night. Lily sank down gratefully and finally got a good look at her ankle in the firelight. It was badly swollen and had turned an ugly purple color. Kaya saw her looking at it and frowned. He said something in Apache that sounded worried, then left the cave. Lily began to panic. Was he leaving her here? But he came back just a few minutes later with his arms full of plants she didn't recognize. "Medicine," he explained, settling down next to her. Lily watched in fascination as Kaya began preparing the plants. He had a small stone bowl and another stone that he used like a hammer to crush some of the leaves into a paste. Other plants he held over the fire until they released a strong herbal smell. "This help," he said, holding up the paste. "Hurt first, then better." He looked at her boot. "Must off." Lily hesitated. Taking off her boot would mean showing her ankle and foot to a man she had just met. It wasn't proper. But then again, nothing about this situation was proper. "Okay," she said quietly. Kaya was very gentle as he removed her boot and stocking. Her ankle looked even worse without the boot to hide it. He examined it carefully with his fingers, and though it hurt, Lily could tell he knew what he was doing. "Not broken," he announced after a minute. "Bad. How you say?" He made a twisting motion with his hands. "Twisted? Sprained?" "Yes. Sprained. Will heal." He began applying the plant paste to her ankle. It stung at first, just like he had warned, but then it started to feel cool and soothing. He wrapped it with soft strips of leather that he cut from something in his supplies. "Better tomorrow," he said when he was finished. Lily wiggled her toes. The pain was already less than it had been. "How do you know how to do this?" Kaya looked confused by the question. "Apache no plants, no healing. My grandmother teach me." Of course, Lily thought. These people had been living in the desert for hundreds of years. They would have to know how to take care of injuries and sickness without any doctors or medicine. "From town. Your grandmother must be very wise," she said. Something sad passed across Kaya's face. "Was wise. She gone now." "Oh, I'm sorry." He nodded once, accepting her sympathy, then stood up. "You hungry?" Lily realized she was starving. She had barely eaten anything since the attack on the wagon train, and that felt like a lifetime ago. Yes, very hungry. Kaya rummaged through his supplies and came back with strips of dried meat, some kind of flatbread, and small cakes made from nuts and berries. It wasn't like any food Lily had ever eaten, but it tasted good and filled the empty feeling in her stomach. As they ate, she found herself stealing glances at him. Everything she had been told about Apache people said they were savage and cruel, but Kaya had done nothing but help her. He had given her water when she was thirsty, medicine when she was hurt, and food when she was hungry. He had brought her to safety when she could have died in the desert. "Why are you helping me?" she asked suddenly. Kaya looked up from his food. "Why not help?" Because we're supposed to be enemies. Your people and mine." Kaya was quiet for a long time, staring into the fire. When he spoke again, his voice was soft and thoughtful. "My people say white people bad. Kill Apache. Take Apache land. Your people say Apache bad. Kill white people. Burn houses." He looked directly at her. "But you not kill Apache. I not kill white people. So why we enemies?" Lily had never thought about it that way before. She had always just accepted what the adults told her, that Apache were dangerous and should be feared. But here was Kaya, asking a simple question that she couldn't answer. "I don't know," she admitted. "You have family?" Kaya asked, changing the subject. "My father. He arranged for me to marry a man I don't know. That's why I was on the wagon train." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't want to go, but I didn't have a choice." "You not want marry this man?" "No. He's much older than me, and he's not a kind man. My father says it will be good for our family's business, but—" She trailed off, not sure how to explain the rest. "But you want marry for love," Kaya said quietly. Lily looked up at him in surprise. "How did you know that?" Kaya smiled, the first real smile she had seen from him. It changed his whole face, making him look younger and less serious. "All people want love. Apache too." His smile faded a little. "But sometimes must marry for family, for tribe. Is hard. Are you married?" The question slipped out before Lily could stop herself, and she immediately felt her cheeks get hot. "No. Was promised to girl from another band, but she choose different man." He shrugged like it didn't matter, but Lily could see it had hurt him. "I'm sorry. Is better this way, we not love each other. She happy now." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, both lost in their own thoughts. The fire crackled softly, and outside the cave, Lily could hear the wind moving through the rocks. It was peaceful in a way she had never experienced before. "Kaya," she said eventually, "what does your name mean?" "Means elder sister in Apache language, but for men, means—" He paused, searching for the right English words. "Means one who protects, one who takes care of others." Lily smiled. "It fits you." Kaya looked pleased by this. "What means lily?" "It's a flower, a white flower that grows near water." Kaya nodded thoughtfully. "Is good name. You like flower, soft but strong." Lily felt herself blushing again. No one had ever called her strong before. As the night went on, they talked about many things. Kaya told her about his life with his Apache band, about hunting and tracking animals, about the stories his grandmother had told him. Lily talked about her life in town, about books she had read, about dreams she had for a different kind of life. She was surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. Even with the language barrier, they seemed to understand each other. Kaya listened to everything she said with complete attention, like her thoughts actually mattered to him. When Lily started yawning, Kaya arranged some furs into a comfortable bed for her on the opposite side of the fire from where he would sleep. "Is safe here," he told her. "I watch." As Lily settled down into the soft furs, she realized she felt safer than she had in months. Not just physically safe, but accepted, like she could be herself without having to worry about saying or doing the wrong thing. "Kaya?" she said quietly into the darkness. "Yes? Thank you. For everything. Sleep now, Lily. Tomorrow, we see how ankle feels." But as Lily drifted off to sleep, she found herself hoping that tomorrow wouldn't come too soon. For the first time in her life, she was exactly where she wanted to be. Lily woke up to the smell of something cooking. For a moment, she forgot where she was and expected to see her small room back home. Instead, she saw rock walls and firelight dancing on the cave ceiling, and Kaya, sitting by the fire, cooking what looked like fish over the flames. "Good morning," she said, sitting up slowly. "Morning." Kaya looked over at her with those serious dark eyes. "How ankle?" Lily moved her foot carefully. It still hurt, but not nearly as much as yesterday. The swelling had gone down too. Much better. "Your medicine worked." Kaya looked pleased. "Try stand?" With his help, Lily got to her feet. She could put some weight on her ankle now, though walking still hurt. "Better," Kaya announced. "Few more days will be good." A few more days. That meant she would be staying here with him for a few more days. Lily was surprised by how happy this made her feel. "What are you cooking?" she asked, settling back down. "By the fire. Fish from stream. Small stream, but good fish." "There's a stream nearby?" "Yes. Show you after eat." The fish was delicious. Much better than the dried meat they had eaten last night. Kaya had cooked it with some kind of wild herbs that gave it a flavor unlike anything Lily had ever tasted. After breakfast, Kaya helped her walk to the stream. It was only about 50 yards from the cave, hidden between tall rocks. The water was crystal clear and cold, running over smooth stones. Small fish darted back and forth in the shallow pools. "Beautiful," Lily breathed. "Apache say water is life," Kaya said. "No water, nothing live. This place special. Always have water, even when other places dry." Lily knelt carefully by the stream and splashed some of the cold water on her face. It felt wonderful after the heat and dust of yesterday. "Is this why you come here? For the water?" "Water, yes. But also—" Kaya paused, looking around at the rocks and desert plants. "It is quiet here. Peaceful. When things hard with tribe, I come here to think." "What kind of things?" Kaya was quiet for a moment, like he was deciding whether to trust her with something important. "My people. We fight white settlers. Is all we know now. Fight or die, they say, but He shook his head. "I think maybe different way possible." "What do you mean?" "Mean maybe Apache and white people not have to be enemies forever. Maybe can find way to live together." Lily stared at him. "You really believe that?" "I want to believe. But others in my band, they say I am foolish. Say white people only want to kill all Apache, take all land. They say I am not strong warrior, because I not want to fight always." There was pain in Kaya's voice that made Lily's heart hurt for him. She could understand what it felt like to not fit in with what others expected of you. "I don't think you're foolish," she said quietly. "I think you're brave." Kaya looked at her in surprise. "Brave?" "Yes. It's easy to fight when everyone tells you to fight. It's much harder to hope for peace when everyone around you is angry." They sat by the stream for a long time, just listening to the water flow over the rocks. Lily found herself watching Kaya's hands as he absently picked up small stones and tossed them into the water. They were strong hands, scarred from years of outdoor work, but gentle too. She had seen how carefully he handled the plants when making medicine for her ankle. "Kaya," she said eventually, "will you teach me?" "Teach what?" "About the desert, about plants and animals and everything. I've lived my whole life in town. I don't know anything about the real world." Kaya smiled, that wonderful smile that changed his whole face. "Yes, I teach." And so began the strangest and happiest days of Lily's life. Every morning, Kaya would check her ankle and change the medicine. Every day it got a little better. But even when she could walk almost normally again, neither of them talked about her leaving. Kaya taught her everything. He showed her which plants were good for eating and which ones would make her sick. He taught her how to find water by looking at where birds flew and how animals made trails. He showed her how to track different creatures by their footprints in the sand. "This rabbit," he said, pointing to small tracks near their cave. "And this," he pointed to larger tracks. "Coyote, following rabbit." "How can you tell which way they were going?" Kaya knelt down and pointed to tiny details in the tracks that Lily would never have noticed. "See how sand pushed here? Coyote running fast this way. And rabbit." He followed the smaller tracks. Rabbit zigzag, trying to escape. Did the coyote catch the rabbit? Kaya studied the tracks further. No. Rabbit go into rocks where coyote cannot follow. Rabbit smart. Lily found herself thinking that she was like that rabbit. She had escaped into the rocks too, away from the life that was chasing her. Kaya also taught her some words in Apache. The language was musical and flowing, completely different from English. When she tried to pronounce the words, Kaya would laugh, not meanly, but like he was delighted by her attempts. No, he would say, still smiling. Like this. And he would repeat the word slowly until she got it right. In return, Lily taught Kaya more English words. His vocabulary was already pretty good, but there were gaps. She taught him words for feelings: happy, sad, lonely, hopeful. She taught him words for things he had never seen, like books and carriages and theaters. "What is theater?" he asked one day. Lily tried to explain. "It's a big building where people go to watch other people act out stories. The actors pretend to be different characters and speak lines that someone wrote for them." Kaya looked confused. "People pretend to be other people?" "Yes, to tell stories, to make the audience feel things: excitement, sadness, love. Apache have stories too, but we tell around fire, not in building, and storyteller is just himself, not pretending." "What kind of stories?" Kaya's eyes lit up. "Many stories. Stories of how world began, how animals got their shapes, how Apache learned to live in desert." He paused. "Stories of brave warriors and wise women and great love." "Tell me one," Lily said. That evening, as they sat by their fire, Kaya told her an Apache legend about a young woman who could speak to the wind and a warrior who could call rain from the sky. It was a beautiful story about how their love brought water to a drought-stricken land. "Is just story," Kaya said when he finished. "But grandmother always say stories tell truth, even when not true." Lily thought she understood what his grandmother had meant. The story wasn't about magic. It was about how love could heal and bring life to barren places. As the days passed, Lily found herself changing in ways she hadn't expected. Her skin got brown from the sun instead of staying pale like a proper lady's should. She learned to braid her hair back simply instead of arranging it in complicated styles. She stopped worrying about keeping her dress clean and started focusing on being able to move freely. But the biggest change was inside. For the first time in her life, she felt like she could be completely herself with another person. She could say what she was thinking without worrying about whether it was appropriate. She could laugh loudly when something was funny, instead of covering her mouth politely. She could ask questions about anything that interested her, and Kaya seemed to like this version of her better than the careful, proper girl she had been raised to be. "You different from other white women," he said one day as they watched the sunset from a high rock near the cave. "Different how?" "Other white women I see, He searched for words. "They like flowers in glass house. Pretty but cannot live in real world. You like flower that grow in desert. Beautiful but strong. Can survive anything." Lily felt her cheeks get warm, but not from embarrassment this time. From happiness. "I never felt strong before I met you," she admitted. "Was always strong, just needed place where it could bloom." That night, as they sat by their fire, Lily realized something that should have scared her but didn't. She was falling in love with Kaya. Not the nervous, fluttery feeling she had read about in romance novels. This was deeper than that. It was the feeling of finding someone who saw who she really was and loved that person. Someone who made her want to be braver and kinder and more alive. She looked across the fire at Kaya's face, lit by the dancing flames, and wondered if he was feeling the same thing. Sometimes she caught him looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. And sometimes, when their hands touched accidentally while working together, he didn't pull away immediately like he had at first, but neither of them spoke about it. Maybe because they both knew that talking about love would mean talking about the future, and the future was complicated in ways that the present wasn't. For now, it was enough to live in these perfect days where they were just Lily and Kaya, learning from each other and growing closer under the endless desert sky. 2 weeks had passed since Kaya found Lily in the desert. Her ankle was completely healed now, and she could walk and even run without any pain. But neither of them had mentioned her leaving. They had fallen into a comfortable routine. Mornings were for gathering food and water. Afternoons were for Kaya teaching Lily about desert survival, while she helped him with English words. Evenings were for sitting by the fire, sharing stories and talking about everything and nothing. Lily had never been happier in her life, but she could see something changing in Kaya's eyes. He was getting quieter, more thoughtful. Sometimes she would catch him staring out at the desert with a worried expression. Finally, on a particularly hot afternoon, she asked him about it. "What's wrong? You seem distant today." Kaya didn't answer right away. He kept working on sharpening his hunting knife with a smooth stone. Finally, he spoke without looking up at her. "Your ankle is healed." "Yes. You can walk far now. Travel." Lily's stomach dropped. Are you saying I should leave?" Kaya's hand stopped moving on the knife. "I'm saying you can leave if you want." "What if I don't want to?" Now he did look up at her, and Lily saw something in his dark eyes that made her heart beat faster. Hope, maybe, or fear. "What you want, Lily?" It was such a simple question, but nobody had ever asked her that before. Her whole life other people had decided what she should want. Her father wanted her to be a proper lady and marry well. Her teachers wanted her to be quiet and obedient. Society wanted her to be satisfied with a small, safe life. But what did she want? "I want." She started, then stopped. It was harder to say than she had thought it would be. "I want to stay here, with you." Kaya set down his knife completely. "Lily, you not understand what that mean." "I think I do." "No." He shook his head. "You white woman, I Apache man. Your people, my people, they not accept this." "I don't care about my people," Lily said, and was surprised by the strength in her own voice. "You say that now." But later, Kaya stood up and began pacing around their small camp. "Later you miss your old life, books, pretty dresses, warm house in winter. You miss other white people to talk with." "Kaya, look at me." He stopped pacing but didn't look at her. "Look at me," she said again more firmly. Reluctantly, he turned toward her. "Do I look like I'm missing my old life?" And she didn't. Lily knew she looked different than she had 2 weeks ago. Her skin was golden brown from the sun. Her hair was longer and wilder, usually braided simply or hanging loose around her shoulders. Her hands had calluses now from helping with camp work. Her expensive traveling dress had been replaced by a simpler outfit Kaya had made for her from soft leather and cotton fabric he had traded for. She looked like she belonged in this place. "You look," Kaya said quietly. "You look beautiful. But beautiful not enough. World not kind to people like us." "People like us?" "People who love across enemy lines." There it was, the word they had both been dancing around for days. Love. "You love me," Lily whispered. Kaya closed his eyes like the words hurt him. "Yes, but love not always enough." Lily stood up and walked over to him. She had never been bold with a man before, but something about this moment made her braver than she had ever been. "It's enough for me," she said, reaching up to touch his face. Kaya caught her hand in his, but instead of pushing it away, he held it against his cheek. Lily, you so young. You not know what you giving up. I'm not giving anything up. I'm choosing something better. What if you wrong? What if someday you hate me for taking you away from your people? What if someday you realize you're wrong about everything? Lily countered. What if love is exactly enough? For a long moment, they just stood there looking at each other. Lily could see the war happening behind Kaya's eyes. Love fighting with duty, hope fighting with fear. That evening, a desert storm rolled in. They could see it coming from miles away, a wall of dark clouds and lightning moving across the sky toward them. Kaya quickly moved their supplies deeper into the cave and built up the fire. We'll be loud, he warned her, as the first raindrops started falling outside. Desert storms are strong. He was right. Within minutes, the gentle rain became a downpour, then a torrent. Lightning lit up the sky every few seconds, followed by thunder that echoed off the rock walls. Wind howled through the canyon outside their cave. Lily had never experienced anything like it. The storm was frightening but also beautiful in its wild power. She found herself standing near the cave entrance, watching the lightning dance across the desert. Careful, Kaya said, pulling her back from the opening. Lightning dangerous, but he didn't let go of her hand after pulling her to safety. They sat together by the fire, listening to the storm rage outside. The cave felt like the safest place in the world, but Lily couldn't stop shivering. It wasn't from the cold, the fire was warm enough. She was shivering from nerves, from the intensity of everything she was feeling. Lily? Kaya noticed her trembling. You afraid of storm? No, she said. Not of the storm. Then what? Lily looked at him in the flickering firelight. His dark hair was still damp from the rain that had blown into the cave. His eyes were soft with concern for her. I'm afraid of myself, she admitted, of what I'm feeling. What you feeling? Things I've never felt before. Things I don't know how to handle. Kaya was quiet for a moment. You want to tell me? The words came pouring out of Lily like the rain outside, words she had never said, to anyone, feelings she had kept locked inside her whole life. I've never been close to a man before. Not really close. My father never hugged me or told me he loved me. The man he wanted me to marry. I met him once and he barely spoke to me except to tell me what he expected from a wife. She took a shaky breath. I used to think maybe I was wrong inside somehow. Like maybe I wasn't made for love. You not wrong, Kaya said softly. But being with you, Lily continued, not sure she could get through this if she stopped. You make me feel things I didn't know were possible. When you look at me, I feel like the most important person in the world. When you laugh at something I say, it makes me happier than anything ever has. And when you touch me, even just accidentally, she trailed off, her cheeks burning. When I touch you, what? Kaya's voice was very quiet. It makes me want things I don't know how to want, she whispered. The cave fell silent, except for the sound of rain and thunder outside. Kaya was looking at her with an expression she had never seen before, tender and intense at the same time. Lily, he said finally, you know I care for you. I know. You know I would never hurt you. I know that too. And you know, if we... He gestured vaguely between them. If we become more than friends, there's no going back. You can never return. To White World as proper lady. Lily almost laughed. Kaya, look around. Do you think I'm still a proper lady? In ways that matter, yes, you still... He searched for the English words. You still pure, innocent. That's something special. Something you can only give once. What if I want to give it to you? Kaya's breath caught. Lily, I've never been with a man, she said, the words tumbling out in a rush. Never even been kissed. Everyone back home said I should save that for my husband, but what if I don't want the husband they chose for me? What if I want to choose for myself? She moved closer to him. her heart pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. What if I choose you? For a moment, Kaya didn't move. Then, very slowly, he reached out and touched her face with the tips of his fingers. You sure? He whispered. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. But instead of kissing her like she expected, Kaya did something that surprised her completely. He stood up and walked to his pile of belongings. When he came back, he was carrying a beautiful robe made of soft fur and decorated with intricate beadwork. This belonged to my grandmother, he said, sitting back down beside her. Is special, sacred. Lily watched as he gently draped the robe around her shoulders. The fur was incredibly soft and warm. Why are you giving me this? Not giving. Sharing. Kaya's hands were gentle as he arranged the robe around her. In Apache tradition, when man cared deeply for woman, he protected her with his family's most precious things. He pulled part of the robe down to cover her feet, which had gotten cold from the desert night. This robe represents promise, he continued. Promise that you are safe with me, that I honor you, that I see you as precious thing to be protected, not taken. Lily felt tears starting in her eyes. Kaya, shh. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close inside the warmth of his grandmother's robe. Tonight we just hold each other. Let storm pass. Tomorrow, when sunshine again, we talk about future. Lily nestled against his chest, feeling safer and more loved than she ever had in her life. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside, their cave, wrapped in Kaya's arms and his grandmother's robe, she felt like she had finally found home. I love you, she whispered against his chest. She felt rather than saw his smile. I love you too, Lily. More than I ever thought possible. They held each other through the storm, talking softly about their dreams and fears, about the future they might build together. And when Lily finally fell asleep in Kaya's arms, she dreamed of a life where love really was enough to overcome anything. Lily woke up the next morning still wrapped in Kaya's grandmother's robe, her head resting on his chest. The storm had passed during the night, and sunlight was streaming through the cave entrance. She could hear birds singing outside, a sound of hope and new beginnings. Kaya was already awake, his fingers gently stroking her hair. Good morning, she murmured, not wanting to move from this perfect moment. Morning, my heart, he said softly. My heart. Lily smiled at the endearment. In Apache, Kaya had told her, there were many different ways to say I love you depending on how deep the feeling was. My heart was reserved for the deepest love, the kind that lasted forever. They lay there for a while, just enjoying being close to each other. But eventually they had to face the world outside their cave and the decisions that were waiting for them. Over breakfast, Kaya was quieter than usual. Lily could see he was thinking hard about something. What is it? She asked finally. Yesterday, you say you want to stay with me. You sure you still feel same way in daylight? Even more sure, Lily said without hesitation. Kaya nodded slowly. Then we need to decide what we do. Cannot stay here forever. Not safe. Why not safe? Soon my band will wonder where I am. They send people to look for me. And your people, they probably looking for you too after wagon train attack. Lily hadn't thought about that. Of course people would be looking for her. Her father might have hired searchers or the army might be investigating the attack. So what do we do? Kaya was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the desert. Is 3 choices, he said finally. I take you back to nearest white settlement. You go back to your old life. Marry man your father chose. We pretend these weeks never happen. Lily's heart sank. What's the second choice? I take you to my band. You live as Apache woman. But, he shook his head, will be very hard. Some in my band hate all white people. They might hurt you or make me choose between you and tribe. And the third choice? We leave. Both of us. Go somewhere neither of our peoples can find us. Start new life together. Lily felt her pulse quicken. Where would we go? North, maybe. I have heard there are places where people from different tribes live together in peace. Places where Apache and Mexican and white people all trade and work together. Kaya looked at her seriously. But would be dangerous journey. And we not know what we find when we get there. What do you want to do? I want to be with you, Kaya said simply. But I not want you to give up everything for uncertain future. Lily stood up and walked to the cave entrance, looking out at the vast desert. 2 weeks ago, this landscape had seemed harsh and frightening. Now it looked like freedom. Kaya, can I tell you something? Of course. I was never happy in my old life. Not once. I spent every day trying to be what other people wanted me to be, but I never felt like I was really living. She turned back to face him. These past 2 weeks with you have been the happiest of my entire life. Even sleeping on the ground and eating strange food and not knowing what tomorrow would bring. I've been happier than I ever was in a comfortable bed wearing pretty dresses. Kaya's eyes were bright with emotion, but he didn't speak. I don't want to go back to being that scared girl who let everyone else make her choices, Lily continued. I want to be brave. I want to choose love over safety, adventure over comfort, even if it means leaving everything you ever known. Everything I ever knew was making me miserable, Lily said firmly. You're not asking me to give up anything good. You're offering me the chance to finally really live. Kaya stood up and walked over to her. He took her hands in his, studying her face carefully. You understand what this means? If we go north together, we be alone. No family, no tribe. Just us against world. Just us. Sounds perfect to me. A slow smile spread across Kaya's face. That beautiful smile that had first made Lily's heart skip a beat. Then we go north, he said. The next few days were spent preparing for their journey. Kaya knew the desert well, but the route north would take them through unfamiliar territory. He made sure they had enough water containers and dried food to last for weeks if necessary. He taught Lily how to pack efficiently and how to care for the horses he would need to acquire. Horses? Lily asked when he mentioned this. Cannot walk all way north. Too far, too dangerous. I know where wild horses graze. I catch and train 2 strong ones. You can just catch wild horses? Kaya grinned. Apache very good with horses. I teach you ride properly too. Lily had ridden horses before, but only gentle, well-trained ones on carefully maintained paths. The idea of riding a wild horse across the desert was both terrifying and exciting. On their last night in the cave, they sat by their fire one final time. Everything was packed and ready for their early morning departure. Are you scared? Lily asked. Yes, Kaya admitted. But good scared. Scared like when you stand at edge of cliff before jumping into deep water. Scared but excited. I feel the same way. Lily leaned against his shoulder. Kaya? Yes? Do you think we'll make it? Do you think we'll find this place where we can be happy together? Kaya was quiet for a moment. I think, he said slowly, that happiness not place you find, is thing you make, and I think we very good at making happiness together. He was right, Lily realized. These 2 weeks in a cave in the middle of nowhere had been the happiest of her life, not because of where they were, but because of who she was with. Will you tell me that story again? She asked. The one about the woman who could speak to the wind? Which part you want to hear? The ending, where they find their home. Kaya's voice was soft and melodic as he retold the ancient Apache legend. In the story, the woman who could speak to the wind and the warrior who could call rain had to leave their tribes because their love was forbidden. They traveled far across the desert until they found a valley where no one lived. There, they used their gifts together, her wind and his rain, to make the desert bloom. Soon other outcasts and wanderers found the valley and saw what love had created. They stayed and built a community where everyone was welcome, no matter where they came from. It's just story, Kaya said when he finished, but his eyes were hopeful. Maybe, Lily said, but maybe not. That night, Lily slept better than she had in weeks. She dreamed of green valleys and flowing water, of children with dark hair and laughing eyes, of a place where love was more important than the color of Your skin or which tribe you were born into. She woke to find Kaya already up, loading their supplies onto two beautiful horses he had somehow acquired during the night. Ready? He asked, helping her up onto the smaller of the two horses. Lily looked back once at the cave that had been their sanctuary. Then she looked ahead at the vast desert stretching out before them, painted gold and pink by the rising sun. Ready, she said. As they rode north toward an uncertain but hopeful future, Lily felt something she had never experienced before. Complete and total freedom. She was no longer the girl who did what everyone else expected. She was no longer trapped by other people's ideas of what her life should be. She was simply Lily, riding beside the man she loved toward whatever adventures awaited them. Behind them, the sun continued to rise over the desert, lighting their way toward a new life. And ahead of them, somewhere in the vast wilderness, was a future they would build together. One choice, one day, one act of love at a time. The desert wind caught Lily's hair and whipped it around her face like a banner of freedom. She laughed, out loud from pure joy, and the sound echoed off the canyon walls like a promise. They were free. They were together. They were home.